All right, good morning. Unbelievable. Good morning, everybody. Today is Shabbos Daf. If everybody could please mute. Gewaldig. I think everybody's muted. Are we ready to go, Yosef? Okay. Today is 41 days in the Omer. Hayoim. Echod varboim yoim. Shem chamisho shavuos. V'shisho yomim ba'omer. If everybody could please mute.
Amen. Good morning.
Why is he not muted? Yosef.
Gary's on. Gary's here.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so today's 41 days in the Omer. Real quickly, my top two people that are... What is this? Start my video. What does that mean? Uh-oh. I don't know what that means. Are we good now?
Yeah.
Start over? All right, today is 41 days in the Omer. I'm not sure why some people are not muted. Not everybody's muted. I hear noise coming through. If it's possible for everybody to mute. Okay, great. One of my role models, top two role models, is my father-in-law, Dr. Michael Friedman. He was voted as top doctor in Chicago this week. This is him, but I'm not just putting him there because of this. The reason why he's my role model is he's a world-renowned surgeon, head and neck surgeon, head and neck doctor, but more importantly, he's a huge Talmud Chacham. And every single day, he gets up really early to learn Torah. Every single night, he has a chavrusa. We discussed his chavrusa. He was on a ventilator for a very long time. But Baruch Hashem, he's doing much better. Reb David Oppenheim. I stole a page out of his book. He gives a shir in Eon on Shabbos. He also gives the Daf Yomi shir on Shabbos. He gives Daf Yomi shir on Yantiv, Ben Azmanim. And he's very into charts. And when I started this year, I said, I got to do my charts. They're slightly different than his. His are hand-drawn and everything, but I got that idea from him. He's a huge role model, and I'm very proud of him. Top doctor, voted top doctor in Chicago. He's always been voted in the top. My brother once had surgery in Toronto. He was having like a hernia surgery or something, and the doctor said, let me try I forgot what it's called, the Friedman method or something. He invented different methods, different things. He's a world-renowned surgeon. Today's shir is being sponsored by three different people. We have Victor's father-in-law, Victor Fold's father-in-law, Zeichen Nishma, father-in-law, yeah. The Zeichen Nishmas, Michal ben David, right? Yes. And we have from Jack Sandpearl, Yortzeit from my father, Yaakov ben Simcha. Today's learning of the Daf is dedicated, Lilu Nishmas, Chayento bas Chaim Shlomo. All these neshamas should have an aliyah. Really appreciate the sponsorships. And not only, it's not just the money, it shows that people want to be involved and support the shir. By the way, the biggest way to support the shir, and I've said this a number of times, is to bring another person into the shir, to show somebody about learning the daf. That's the biggest support. After that, if somebody wants to donate, great. Yeah, let me just read real quickly. So, Avigdor Fold is, the famous Gemara. What's the Gemara over there? Moilem leik demani odom. Nobody's ever came to the Beis HaMedrash before me, and nobody has ever left the Beis HaMedrash before me. So on Zoom, Avigdor I think he's the first guy on. I've never been really early. He's always there, and he's the last one to leave. You can go on Zoom 2 hours after shir, he's there. So Ishkar for that, and he talks about his father-in-law. He's a diplomat for Yugoslavia, and he passed information to the Israelis about Yasser Arafat, which risked his life. And basically, they offered him an award, and he said, the only award I want is I want to come to Eretz Yisrael. And it was impossible. You can't get a guy out of Yugoslavia and the communist Yugoslavia, but they were able to sneak him out. And that's why we have Avigdor right here in Eretz Yisrael as the first and last guy on and off Zoom. Be'ezer Hashem, he'll come to our live share. He'll have to travel every day for an hour and get there. Be'ezer Hashem. And this is from Michael Samperl. He's from Leeds, England. He's one of our representatives in Leeds. I've been a daily follower of both your 8-minute daf and full share since early in this daf cycle. I watch recordings on YouTube or Torah anytime. By the way, The daf is also available on All Daf, the app, on our app, which has over 1,000 views a day on our website. B'kitzur, you could get it on at least 5 different mediums if you so please, and you could get it on Zoom live. Okay, it's his father's Ziyartzeit today, and basically he's from Leeds, England. The Neshama should have an Aliyah. And finally, we have our good friend Yossi Rubinstein sitting and getting a root canal. We all know the famous root canal, and this is him doing the daf while he's getting the root canal. Yishkoyach Rabbi Yossi Rubinstein. He's one of these guys that in regular times, he's always traveling to America, and one time he came back with this thing in his neck, and he was raising Harum for 2 months, and where are you? He would come in, so he kept on telling me he's busy, but he's a man of his word. Once Corona hit, he's been a really, really steady part of this year, and we hope that it should continue even the days after Corona. So we're holding Daf Ayin Daled Amud Beis, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8 lines, 9 lines from the bottom. HaKosher v'Hamater. So 2 of the big malachas in the Mishkan, and part of the 39 malachas is making a knot and undoing a knot. Kshir b'Mishkan heicha hava, where do we find that they used to make knots? Omar Rava, shekain koshrim b'yizdos ha'olim. They would tie down the tent, the covering to the pegs. Ahu kosham anas lahateru, but at the end of the day, it's not a kesher shekayama. It doesn't last. The Klal Yisrael constantly traveled. They had to undo it, so that's not considered a real knot. So when they were sewing, putting together the yiriyos, if one of the knots or one of the strings became undone, so they had to tie it together. Something similar to this. If it becomes undone, you make a knot. Taken from the Mesifta, needed maybe in a minute. Amalei, tiratz the kosher, mater ma'ikele meimar, where do you have undoing a knot? V'chiteimel di misramele treichute kitrei b'hadei adadi. For instance, what if the 2 knots are right next to each other? You don't want to have 2 strings that have knots next to each other. Shari chad v'koter chad. So he undoes one and leaves the other one the way it is. Like down here, he leaves this knot, undoes the other one. So now you have a knot and you have an undoing of a knot. You don't even do that for a regular king. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're going to make him a urea with knots and undoing, and it looks terrible. The people that would trap the chilazon, the snails, they would have nets, and they would add to the net and take off from the net, and they constantly had to make kisharim. So when we were learning brachas, we had this unbelievable guy that found the Techeiles, found the Murex trunculus, the famous. So I'm going to talk about it just for a minute or two because we're going to talk about it a little bit later as well. He really wanted to come and do a whole live demonstration. Then he wanted me to come to him, and it just didn't work out for me. And I appreciate the offer, and I appreciate that he came down in brachas. I was talking about in brachas, and all of a sudden he said, "I'm here." And he raised his hand. He came to the front, and he gave me all these kind of things. So here's the snail. It's in a bag. I don't know if you can see it well. This is what they discovered. Now, real quickly. Techeiles is a sort of a controversial thing. I was asked to speak once in shul. In our shul, there's no rabbi, and every week somebody else speaks. I only spoke there once, and it was the parsha of Techeiles. So I got up and I did a lot of research during the week. I heard about Techeiles from our Rav in Chicago, Reb Chaim Tversky. He made a very convincing argument to wear it. He's a Hasidic guy, and he wears Techeiles, but a huge Talmud Chacham. Basically, a regel achas, the Regina Rebbe, he came up and he said, "This is Techeiles," and he said, "It's this fish right over here, a codfish." They later on discovered that the chemicals they add to the blood of a codfish that turns it blue, if you add that chemical to the blood of an elephant and a horse, it also turned blue. And therefore, the Gdolah made fun of it, and they said, "Forget it, it's not even close." That kind of made a stigma to finding new Techeiles, and it's a big problem, even when you see about Rebbe Yashiv. But when I read through it, and they made different arguments, this is the Murex trunculus, and one of the huge arguments that I liked a lot is that it's genetic makeup, C16H10N2O2, which is very unique to every creature in the world, everything in the world. The Gemara says that you cannot tell the difference between Techeiles of a chilazon and the Techeiles that comes out of Kali Elon, which is a tree. And what's fascinating is that this tree, Kali Elon, has the identical genetic makeup. So that kind of one of the things, many different rayas and arguments that they have is, the Gemara says it's found from Haifa all the way to Tzur to Lebanon, and that's exactly where you find these things. They found in different archaeological digs, millions of these, raya after raya. The point is, it takes a lot of guts in our day if you're in certain circles. Now, if you're in the YU circle, whatever, it's great, everybody wears Techeiles. And in certain circles, the circles that I dray around in, if you want to wear Techeiles, people are going to make fun of you. You have to have guts to stand up and say, I believe this is what is true and I want to do it. Not everybody is capable of doing it. I got up and because I decided it's right. Yes, Reb Chaim Kanievsky says nignaz and he doesn't wear it, but there's a video and I have that he says if you believe it, you're mechuyev to wear it, and I believe it. So, the bottom line, the arguing point for me was that there's nothing to lose. There's no isser to wear it if it's not. So you wear a blue string. And what you could gain is the mitzvah d'oraisa of Techeiles, and wearing tzitzis without it, you're not mekayim the mitzvah really. So there's nothing to lose, why not? But this idea of being strong and standing for what you believe is true, I was just thinking, because everybody's making this push, we're going back to shul soon, and they're making this push, don't talk in shul. Somebody was telling me, one of the big schmoozers in our shul told me that he has a problem. He doesn't know what to do because everybody expects him to joke around and talk during shul. And what is he going to come? Everybody's going to say, Moshe the tzaddik, he became a tzaddik. And that's an issue. To stand up for what you believe and not care about what the other guy is going to say, not care about, oh, he's going to make fun of me, he's going to say this. If that's what's right, that's what you do. Anyway, that being said, let's move on. So that's the Techeiles. Whoever wants free Techeiles, there's a guy in the shir that had a whole bunch of Techeiles he gave me. He said, whoever wants, it was not me. Whoever wants free Techeiles, if it's the first time, he probably still has it and is probably still giving it out. If a person makes 2 stitches in a garment, if you just go in and out, that's what the Mishnah means by 2 stitches. It doesn't mean 2 full stitches that we call stitches, but it's in and out, it's going to come undone. If you ever try to sew a button, let's say you go in and out, in 10 seconds it's out. You actually have to make somewhat of a knot. Maybe 1 knot, not a kashush kayama, but you make a knot. Another melacha was to tear in order to tie it up, to sew it up again. Where did they tear in the Mishnah? Everything has to line up with what they did in the building of the Mishkan. Where did they tear in order to build the Mishkan? Daf Ayin Hey Amud Aleph. If you have a piece of garment that you have a worm, then it's not enough just to start sewing up that hole because it will start pulling it. So what you need to do is you need to tear it down, and then the guy comes in and sews it up nicely, and it's a much better sewing. So there was tearing in the building of the Mishkan. Amarav Zutra bar Tovia Amarav Hamayteach Chutshel Tfira b'Shabbos. So basically, Rav Zutra learned 3 things from Rav, all at the same time. For some reason, they have some sort of connection, and that is if you pull a string, I'm not exactly sure, sometimes you have it on your tie, on a sack, you pull it and it comes together. It makes the garments come together. I couldn't think of a real good example today. That is considered sewing, because you're making the 2 pieces of garment come together. Chayev chatas. If you learn one thing from a person called a magash, what is that? Machlokes in a second. Chayev misa. You're chayev misa. If a person knows how to calculate, we had a whole sugya in brachas, daf nun tes, the mazalois, the tkufos, understanding the constellations, the astronomy, and you don't You don't think about it. You don't talk about it. You don't do it. Also, the saper imenu. You're not allowed to talk to him, or you're not allowed to listen to his halachas. The Gemara is going to explain. Magashasa, what's this Magash guy? Rav Shmuel Machlaikis, Chadom Acharshe v'Chadom Agadoife. One says he's a mechashev, he's a sorcerer, and the other one says it's referring to a person that's a megadef, he's a oived avodah zarah. Somebody that constantly tries to, one of those witnesses guys, constantly tries to push his avodah zarah on you. Testayim the Rav the Omagadoifi. I could prove to you that Rav is the one that says it's the avodah zarah guy. Omer Rav Zutra Bar Tevi Omer Rav. If you learn one thing from a avodah zarah guy or a magash, chayiv misa. Chayiv misa, says Rav. Now, obviously, magash means avodah zarah. Why? If you're talking about a sorcerer, a mechashev, a ksiv, leisilmad la'asos. You shouldn't learn to do, but learn to know what a mechashev is. You're allowed to learn. We had, I forgot where it was. We had that Rebbe Kiva learned from the Mechashev how to bring up kishuim, how to grow. He wanted to know what's kishuv, what's not kishuv, what to tell people that you're allowed to do. But don't learn about avodah zarah. That is also to learn avodah zarah, chayiv misa. The concern is this guy's going to convince you. He's going to teach you Torah, and then in the back door, he's going to convince you about avodah zarah, chayiv misa. But you can learn kishuv to talk about it, to teach it, to understand it, to stay him. It's a right that Rav is the one that says Magash is avodah zarah. If a person knows how to figure and calculate the tkufos and the mazalos, the different constellations, the pasuk says, amazing pasuk. The handiwork of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they don't see, they don't realize. Again, this is the handiwork. Loy they don't see, they're not ma'ayin in it. So when I saw this pasuk, I was immediately thinking about Rabbi Avigdor Miller. I had the schus of having Rabbi Yamin, Yaakov's son, give a shir in my house every Thursday night after my short shir. Noam Fix was part of it. A lot of the guys were part of the shir. And he's a huge chassid of Rabbi Avigdor Miller. He learned by Rabbi Avigdor Miller, and he said over a lot of stories about the big thing was, Rabbi Avigdor Miller always saw HaKadosh Baruch Hu in every single thing, in a flower, and it was a dandelion, how it has a parachute, and it comes down, and it flies, and it goes, an animal, this animal. I reached out to him yesterday, I said, could you remind me of one of your good stories? I remember he said the story, it's not like wow, but it was very interesting. He said that his, Rabbi Avigdor Miller's grandchild walks into the kitchen one day and he sees his grandfather in the sink underwater, and he's just standing like, what is going on with my Zaidi? And then Rabbi Avigdor Miller pops his head out and goes he took a big breath, and the kid looks at him and he says, I'll explain to you, I'm not crazy, but what happened, people were saying about the pollution in New York City, pollution, complaining, and I want to feel what it means not to breathe at all. So he held his breath for I don't know how long, a minute and a half, and then he came out and he enjoyed the polluted oxygen of New York City. That's how he used to walk around with a pit from a peach in his pocket, and he would tell people, look, this pit, you can't crack it open. You want to bite it, it's very difficult to crack open. You need a hammer to crack it open. Yet, if you put it in the ground, it softens up, and out comes the seed, and a whole world of a peach tree comes out. Because Baruch Hu protected this seed with a box, and he saw in the one seed, he saw HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's the idea. The idea is to see HaKadosh Baruch Hu in everywhere you go and everything you do. And this guy over here, who knows how to calculate the sun and the moon and the stars and all these things, and he doesn't do it. Why? You're missing the opportunity of seeing HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the problem here. Says the Gemara weiter. How do you know it's a mitzvah to sit down and figure this stuff out? This is your chachma. This is your knowledge. By the nations. Rashi says very interesting. He says, by you knowing the mazalos and the tkufos, you could figure out when it's going to rain, when it's going to get hot. You know, like weather guys today, they know how to tell the future. Imagine if you said that in 10 days from now, you could forecast the weather of 2,000 years ago, you were able to forecast that in 10 days it's going to rain. People will say, wow, this is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You know, so if you knew how to do that, and they knew how to do that based on the mazalas and the kechavim, today we say, oh, it's everybody, every TV channel knows how to do it. But they're not doing it on the constellations, they're doing it on other chachmas. But there's ways how to do it, knowing when the season is starting, ending. It's a mitzvah to do it. Going back to the chilazon. Hatzat tzvi, so one of the 39 malachas is trapping a deer, or trapping any animal. We said a mosquito, a bee, a fly, a chicken, a cat, a dog, whatever it is. Tanarabanim, hatzat chilazon. So one of the animals is a chilazon, a snail. This chilazon, as we know, comes up every 70 years. So how does this guy from Techeiles, the company Techeiles, the guy, by the way, if you want a very nice, I haven't been there, but saw the pictures, saw the videos from Avi Kamiansky, went out there. It's a nice chalamayid trip, it's a nice place to go, or not chalamayid. They take you scuba diving, they go in, they show you where the snail is. Yes, it's not like it comes up every 70 years. It means it's very difficult to get to. It's on the bottom of the ocean. It doesn't run around on the ground. You have to be a professional scuba diver and go down and grab it. So, by squeezing, you have to squeeze out the chilazon's blood. Squeezing is not part of the isser here. The isser is trapping it. No, of course, the chilazon guys, the Techeiles guys, this is one of their favorite gemaras. Proves, doesn't prove, they have different things from here. Rabbi Yehuda says that there's a concept called disha. You're threshing the wheat, you step on it, or you have an animal run it over, separating the shaft from the kernel. So here also, you're separating the blood from the snail. So you chayev for disha. It's not. Why? My time of the Rabbanon, Kasavri and disha legdule karka. Disha is only in something that grows from the ground, and not from a fish. So, I just want to point out there's a very interesting Techeiles here that the Techeiles guys love, and that is, I think I've seen it in their Svarim, the Techeiles de Ramaskal Keich de Litzal Tzivei, two Techeiles from the bottom, and it's like 3 lines from the end of that Techeiles, Veishav V'lei Rabbeinu Tam. Basically, Techeiles is asking, let's continue in the Gemara, because it's on the further on in the Gemara. At the end of the day, you're killing this chilazon. You're killing the snail. You're killing a snail. That's netilas neshama. You're not allowed to take the life out of any living being, any animal, a fish. You're not allowed to do that on Shabbos. Omer Rabbi Yochanan, sheptzai meis. You took out the blood when it's already dead. Rav Amar afilu teima sheptzai chai. Misaseku eitzel netilas neshama. So Rabbi Yochanan says, I'm taking the blood out from a dead snail. Okay, so I'm not killing it. It's already dead. It died on Friday. Rava says, it's a misasik. Techeiles explains, it doesn't mean misasik. We learned misasik means a complete shoygig. He had no idea what he was doing. He picked up a knife and by mistake he cut a branch. No. Techeiles says, we're talking about davar she'ena miskaven. He had no intent to kill it. Ask the Gemara, what do you mean he didn't have intent to kill it? He wanted its blood, knowing very well that if you squeeze a snail and take all its blood out, it's going to drop dead. What is the percentage it's going to die? 100%. So what do you mean he didn't know? Of course he knew. He knew very well what he's doing. The famous concept in Masechta Shabbos. The literal words mean chopping off its head, cutting off its head, v'lo and it's not going to die. A guy comes to you and says, I shechted this cow, I cut its head completely off, I didn't think it was going to die. V'lo what, were you nuts? Of course it's going to die. In other words, Reb Shimon holds, I could drag a bench, the famous case, I'm dragging a bench on the ground, it might make a furrow, it might not make a furrow, I'm allowed to drag it. But if I know 1,000% that it's going to make a furrow, then even Reb Shimon agrees you're not allowed to drag the bench. So if I know that I'm going to press on the snail and its blood is going to come out, and it's going to die, it's psik reisha. I cut off the snail's head, v'layamos, it's going to die. So even Reb Shimon is going to agree that davar she'eni miskaven, something that I don't have full intent, is asur, because it's psik reisha. It's going to happen 100%. So even if you don't intend it, you're chayiv. What do we do with this kasha? Says the Gemara an amazing thing. Shani hacha de kama de isbei neshama tvei nichalei. The more that it lives, the more the guy enjoys that and benefits from it. The guy that's making Techeiles doesn't want the snail to die. He wants to keep him alive as much as possible. In order so that the blood, the dye that comes out of it is pure, it's clear. So I'm looking at this, I don't understand the Gemara, I don't understand. How do you get away from the psik reish? At the end of the day, it's going to die, you know it's going to die. You don't want it to die, great, but you know that you're killing it. So who cares that you don't want it? So I find this beautiful Rashi here on the side. If you have the newer Gemaras, it's called Likutei Rashi, he brings a Rashi here from Masechta Sukkah. And Rashi explains it a little differently, puts a little Havana in what's going on here. So Rashi, Dibber Maskul b'psik reisha v'layamos. The last Rashi in this Likutei Rashi. I'm going to cut off the animal's head, but I don't want it to die. Says Rashi, the kiv in the efshar shaloi tamos, it's impossible that it's not going to die. Here's the key word that Rashi says. Kimiskaven chashiv lei. What does psik reisha do, says Rashi? It creates a miskaven. You know, the whole Masechta Shabbos, all the melachas in Shabbos are meleches machshavas. The Torah talks about a melacha in the Mishkan that you have to have intent to do. You have to have kavana. If I don't have kavana, it's not a melacha. I have to have intent. Says Rashi, when something is impossible not to happen, that injects kavana into it. That's good when I want that kavana, when I want intent. Let's say I'm pyrev, I don't care one way or the other. So if it's going to happen, it makes it into a miskaven. But if I want the reverse, I don't want it to happen, then I don't have the kavana. It's different than what we think. It's not like, oh, it's going to happen. Oh, you're chayiv because it happened. You're not chayiv because it happened. You're only chayiv when it's a meleches machsheves, when I intend to do something. But when I intend to do the opposite of it, even if I know it's going to happen and I intend to do it, but I want the opposite outcome, that's not a chayiv on Shabbos, says Rashi. A new havana in what Meleches Machshavas says and how it works with psik reisha. Okay, think about it. So here's the Techeiles that I want to point out, just to make my friend from, I forgot where that whole factory is, somewhere, I don't know, 45 minutes away from here, 30 minutes away maybe. Techeiles. I'm assuming he likes this Techeiles. That Techeiles asks a question. We know that if you make a chabura in somebody, you beat somebody up to the point that he's bleeding, it's like taking out his neshama. It doesn't matter if you take out a lot of blood or a little blood, it's netilas neshama. A little blood is netilas neshama. Says Techeiles, but what about this chilazon? I took out a little blood from it. Maybe 4 lines from the bottom of the page. The dam chilazon aroy letzvia mifkat pakid. End the story. New idea. Techeiles says that this dye that's in the snail is mifkat pakid. It's in its own, what do they call it? Its own, not a bag. It's in its own little gland. Let's call it a gland. In other words, it's not the blood of the snail. So these guys are jumping up with joy when they find this Techeiles, because that's exactly what the Murex Techeiles is. It has a gland in it. It's not its blood. It has a gland, and they take this little gland. I forgot how many dozens and dozens of these poor snails you have to kill in order to make one pair of tzitzis. The gland is tiny, and it's Mashra Techeiles says, mifkat pakid. It's not part of its blood. It's not like a codfish that it's blood, or like any other. It has a little gland in it, and it has a special dye in it, and that dye is mifkat pakid. Therefore, says Techeiles, by you taking out its blood, you didn't kill it. It's not its blood, it's its dye. If it was its blood, taking out a small amount of blood from an ox on Shabbos is killing the ox. It's the same thing as killing it. Because a little bit of blood, a lot of bit of blood, at the end of the day, the animal is going to die from bloodletting. So it doesn't matter a lot or a little. But this is not blood. This is mifkat pocket. Another raya that is the murex trunculus. Anyway, says the Gemara of Ashoichatoi. What? Anybody talking?
Yes, my understanding is Techeiles is also sponsoring today's year. There's been intense product placement this year.
No, I'm serious. He wanted to sponsor, and whatever. It doesn't matter. That's not the point. I don't think he's sponsoring. I personally don't think he's sponsoring. He wanted to. He had a good intent, and I'll be mitzarefet machshava l'maisa. We have 3 sponsors, Baruch Hashem. We're running out of sponsors. If somebody has a birthday or a simcha or a yard site, or we're done with Corona, so the refuah shleimas are basically over. Whatever it is, you can sponsor. Speak to Yosef. Anyway,
He sent he actually did send an email from Techeiles that he wants to sponsor.
Oh wow! Okay, so Techeiles is a 4th sponsor today, and without knowing it, I pushed her product. Yishkoyach Techeiles for sponsoring today's shir. V'ashoichatoi says in the Mishnah, one of the avis malachos on Shabbos is shechting. Shoichem mishumay chayav. So what's the Gemara's question? The Gemara's question is, why in the world do I need shechita in the Mishkan? Yes, I need certain things. I need the product of an animal, but I don't need to shecht the animal. I could choke an animal to death. Why is shechita the word? It should say, killing an animal is a av malacha. Where do I come to shechita? If I just need its hide, I could choke him. I could take him off a dead animal that died by roadkill, whatever it is. Who says I have to shech the animal? So, at the end of the day, what is the isser of shechita? So, Rav says, I'm doing something called tzeveya. I'm painting. The Gemara is going to say, it sounds almost ridiculous, tzeveya. But Shmuel says, we'll see in a second. Shmuel says, netilas neshama. I'm taking out, I'm removing its soul. I'm taking out its neshama. Daf ayin hayom beis. Ask the Gemara, mishum tzeveya, mishum netilas neshama loy. What Rav argues on the whole concept of netilas neshama. Says the Gemara, Eima af mishum tzeveya. Says Rav, when a person shechs an animal, he's chayiv on 2 things. He's chayiv for shechting an animal. Of course you're doing netilas neshama. Of course that's also. But I'm going to tell you that you're chayiv for something else. You're chayiv because I am dyeing the animal. Dyeing the animal with the blood. Omar Rav, milsa de amri, ema ba milsa. Let me explain myself real quickly. So future generations don't literally laugh at me. It sounds funny. Why do I say that the blood on the animal's neck is considered dyeing the neck red? He is very happy with nice fresh blood on the neck because he's a butcher. And when people see the fresh blood, not congealed blood from 5 days ago, they say, oh, here's fresh meat. How do they know it's fresh? Based on the blood. So the fact that it's red blood on the outside of the animal is what he wants, and that is tzeveya. Says the Gemara, salting and tanning. So today I printed out the picture in case you don't know what it looks like. Tanning is the process of taking the hide and putting in a vat with chemicals. Some of the chemicals are salt. The other chemicals are tanning chemicals, whatever it is. Says the Gemara, they're the same, what's the difference between tanning and salting? They're doing the same exact thing. Explain the Rishonim, and as Rashi explains later down on the Amud, if I remember to point it out there as well, all the way by Mesach and Shoivet and Medaktik, the Gemara is saying, look, we spoke about Zoyra, Boyer, and Merakit. These are 3 melachas that are all the same. They're not the same exact, but they accomplish the same thing. They separate the good from the bad. The Gemara over here is saying that salting and tanning is the same. So why is it different than Zoyra and Boyer? The answer is, Because Zoira and Boirer are two different things. And they come at two different steps and stages in the process. One is separating the shaft from the kernel. The other one is separating the stones from the flour. That's meraket. So they're different things. They're separating different things from the product. Yes, they all accomplish the same thing, but there are different steps. Over here, the salt and the tanning accomplish the same exact thing. They're identical. They might happen simultaneously. I don't know how it works. But it's right there. It's putting the salt in, putting this chemical, but it's the same thing. They accomplish the same thing and they're doing the same thing, whereas Zoira and Boirer accomplish different things. One separates the shaft from the kernel, the other one separates the kernel from the bran. It's different. So therefore, Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shlokish say, yes, they're both the same. Salting and tanning are the same, and therefore, apik chad minayu v'ayil sirtut. You need to remove one of those two. It cannot be one of the 39 melachas. Let's remove one. I don't know which one. Shalom Aleichem Yossi Rubenstein. I hope your root canal is doing well. I don't know. They always use that as a mashal. Root canal, like, I'd rather do this than a root canal. So seemingly it's a very painful thing. You should have a refuah shleim, but b'karev mamish. This is sirtut. We're familiar with this from the Sefer Torah. If you ever got aliyah, you know those lines in the parchment. And then, he would take, in terms of the Beis HaMikdash, they didn't need the lines that we have in Sefer Torah, but they would take a scissors or something, a knife, and cut it on that and make straps in order to make a nice product, a nice straight product. Amar Rabba Bar Rav Huna, Hay man de molach bisra. Okay? Also, halachas lamaisa. If I take salt and I salt my meat, in other words, I'm trying to conserve the meat, chayev mishum ma'abed. Ma'abed of tanning the hide could apply to food products as well. Rava Amar ein ibud ba'oichlin. No, you're not over the rice of ma'abed because ma'abed is on hides and nothing to do with food. Now, if you just look at Taisus real quickly, I'm not going into the whole sugi here. Top Taisus, ein la'atir mikam elichas achlin. So just to point out, there is a issa d'Rabbanan to salt your food. What foods exactly you're allowed to salt or not? There's a sif in Mechaber. There are people that eat horseradish. I remember my dad used to eat it. I don't know why, don't ask me. Take a little red horseradish, cut it down, nice slice, put it on bread and butter with a little salt. There's people that do that. To pour salt on a horseradish, isser. It's ma'abed. There are certain foods you got to be careful on Shabbos. Don't think that you can just take your salt shaker and go like this. That's all I'm saying for now. Because the horseradish is something that you try to pickle, and so it depends on the food. Of course, you go like this into your soup. What happened to Yoni Meisels? Where is he? He came over to me right before Shabbos, right before Baruch Hu last night by Meir. He said, "You said you can't take lakshin out of a soup," and that was the end of the conversation. I don't know what he was. I was just saying over for Moshe Feinstein that using a fork, and I gave a mushal as lakshin. I don't know if that's the right mushal. Maybe he's right. I don't know. Or to use a ladle that has holes in it, that's a kli. All I was saying is that you can't use a kli when you're doing bayr. For some reason, he felt that lakshin is different. I know that lakshin is a whole discussion, so I'm not sure what the discussion is. I remember there was a big discussion about lakshin. How you take out lakshin, how you put it in. Because going back to Ramesha says, if you're using the fork because it's more convenient, but it doesn't help you, then it's not a kli. But if you're using the fork to separate something, then it's a kli. So I guess if you go in like this to the lakshin, you give it a stab and you put it in, that's not a problem, because you can do it with your hands, you just don't want to get your hands dirty, it's not polite. But if you're trying to sift something out of the soup, you have a fly in your soup and you're using the fork to get the fly out, that's mamish asa deraisa l'chayra. Or to get a vegetable, I don't know, whatever the case is. Fine. Yoni will discuss it later. But Yoni is unbelievable. He works all day at the change place, and anytime you go in there, the shear is on. Anytime I went in there, maybe he sees me coming and he pushes play, I don't know. But he's definitely always learning there between customers, and there's a lot of downtime, so he's constantly learning. Yishkoyach Yoni. Anyway, Zakti Gemara. Amar Ravashi, V'omar Ravashi, V'afilu Rabbi Rav Huna lo yomar, Ela dekabai leila orcha. What constitutes tanning food is if I'm taking it on a long trip. So I preserve it in salt. Avala beisa, but if you're doing it for your own house, you sprinkle some salt on it. Nobody wants to make his food wood. By you pouring on the salt, you're making it inedible. Nobody wants to do that. What you're doing is you're trying to add a little flavor. That's not ma'abed. But if you're taking it, they didn't have vacuum packed then. They didn't have refrigeration, so they would dunk it in salt. That's ma'abed only according to that one sheet. And smoothing out the hide, the leather, and cutting it. Amazing halacha. What if I smooth out dirt? According to Rashi, very interesting Rashi, hard to understand, as Techeiles points out. We learned the other day that making the dirt smooth is baina. Over here, Rashi's learning in the Gemara that smoothing out the dirt is memachik, smoothing from the malacha of smoothing something out. Techeiles learns it's you tie things between the two poles, whatever. That's the memach. Amar Rav Chia bar Abba Gimel Dvarim Sachli Rav Ashi. I heard three things from Rav Ashi. Mishmei Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi in the name of Rival. I just say Rival because this street over here in our neighborhood called Rival, and it's for Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Hamegarer or megared Rosh Klunsis b'Shabbos. A person wants to make a 6-foot fence, so he takes these pieces of wood and he cuts them 6 feet each. Now on the top, he also wants to make it nice and sharp so that the intruder gets cut when he tries to climb over the fence. Anytime you cut something to a specific size, like we had yesterday with toilet paper, whatever that thing is, mechatech. You're over on Issa Deraisa called cutting. Second halacha. I take a bandage, put it on some ointment, some cream, and I kind of rub it in. What is that called? Chayv mishum memachek. I'm smoothing out the ointment. V'amisates. And so even b'Shabbos, I take out one of these stones for the kaisel or Even Yerushalmi, whatever it is. You see that they're nice and smooth. They made some sort of nice design around the box. That's called makeh bepatish, finishing it off. According to some Rishonim, every Yerushalmi, every bang you give it, and it gives that little groove, that's a makeh bepatish. Now the Gemara is going to say a couple of halachas, or 4 halachas in makeh bepatish. Or Rav Shimon ben Kisma. Or Rav Shimon ben Lakish. The point is, finishing a product, the final blow of the product, that's a makeh bepatish, banging with a hammer. If a person engraves that engraving that you do, like on a silver vessel, on a whatever, you put your final initial in it. And if a person does glass blowing, highly recommended if you've never been to Venice. It's a great place to take your wife. Highly recommend. I've been there many times. They're actually talking about closing it down to tourists, whatever, some shagas now in the corona. People say stupid things. But yeah, so when you go there, so you take the ferry, you go to that island, and you'll see how they blow glass. Amazing stuff. The whole city's about blowing glass over there. So, blowing the glass, chay b'shum makeh bepatish. Or Rabbi Yehuda, hay mandish shokal akufi meglime. You know, you have these things in your, especially if the fabric is thicker, let's say a sweater. And in this sweater, you have like a splinter, a piece of something stuck in there. You pull it out. Chay b'shum makeh bepatish. You're finishing off your sweater. Now it's perfect. It's nice and smooth. It's something that you care about. You don't want people to see your messy sweater. You care about it, then you're chayiv. That's you, Michael Sand Pearl. That's you right over there with the headphone on top. Shalom Aleichem. All right, the neshama should have an aliyah. Zog the Gemara back koisef shtei yosi ston rabbanon. Writing 2 letters constitutes writing on Shabbos. Where do we have this? In the Mishkan, we have the beams. Like a sukkah, you write 1, 2 on each panel. 1 goes next to 2, 2 goes next to 3, the north side, the left side. So they used to write on these beams. But it has to be 2 letters. Because beam 1 has a letter, beam 2 has a letter. 2 ICS. So here's a very interesting halacha. What if you do a gigantic letter that's larger than 2 letters? Potter. It says 2, it's 2, because writing a large letter is not on 2 beams. 2 beams is 2 beams. But erasing is worse off than writing. Because what's erasing? Erasing is in order to write. So if I erase enough room in order to write 2 letters, I'm chayiv. Points out the Ran, then it doesn't have to be erasing a letter per se. It's erasing ink, a glob of ink that I could write enough of 2. I could do 2 letters in that ink. Chayiv. Who's the author of this statement? Rabbi Nachman Rabbi Yossi, who says that erasing is more stringent than writing. These are the last melachas in the Mishnah. Rabbi Verzer Darm Tavayu, call me did this by Gemar Melacha, anything you finish off the Kli. We learned in the Mishnah, Elu Aves Melachas. These are the 39 melachas. Elo, what does it come? These are, and not what? La'pukim in the Rebbe Eliezer, the Mechayev al Tailada b'makimav. Rebbe Eliezer argues on our Tanakama, on our Mishnah, and holds that if a person were to do, let's say, Zereya, planting a seed, and Noiteya, planting a tree, according to our Mandamar, according to our Mishnah, you only chayev 1, because Noiteya falls under the category of Zereya. But according to Rebbe Eliezer, you chayev 2, even though it's a Tolda, and it's part of the category of Zereya, Yechayev 2 korbanos. Chaser achas. What is the word? Why does the Mishnah have to say, 40 minus 1? What do you learn from that? La'pukim in the Rabbi Yehuda, the time Rabbi Yehuda. Moisef es hashovet v'amedaktek. These are melachas that have to do with. I'm not going to pretend I know exactly what it means, but it has to do with something over here. These guys are the chassis, right? The larger string is chassis. The Erev is the one that goes back and forth. So basically he's pushing with a rod, he's pushing these things down, or he's... What's that? Did we just get knocked off? I don't know. The Olam on YouTube, something just happened to Zoom. We are down for some reason. We'll wait for a couple seconds, see if we can get back up. Is that me? Was that only...
Really utilize that tool if you have any...
Rabbi Say, was that only me that got knocked off, or that's everybody?
It was just you.
Just
I
me.
used the chance to tell people to go to the website, the iminadaf.com.
But we have to finish because it's already 8:01. I don't know what happened. Did somebody try to put something on or something? Okay, fine. I got knocked off. I was just telling Gary was in my house, I'm not exaggerating, till 1 in the morning, teaching me some stuff on the computer. I asked him to come over and help me. And I said, maybe you should just try to hook up my computer and make sure that I have a hotspot, because for whatever reason with Golan, I can't get a hotspot on my computer. And then I said, what if the internet goes off? And of course, today was the first time that my internet just blanked out, I guess. I guess it was the internet thing. Fine. So, where are we? I was holding over here that there's something called shovet and medaktik, and they basically it's to take these strings, I guess, and pull them tight over here, take the erev, push it down that way. One of these melachas. So Rabbi Yehuda adds. Rabbi Yehuda says there's actually 41 melachas. Amrullah, by the way, I heard an unbelievable pshat yesterday from Shmuley Bronstein. I thought it was a beautiful pshat. Not a lot of time, I can't say it, but I'll say it in 10 seconds. And that is that he found somebody that says a gem that Rabbi Yehuda's l'shitasai, that Dov Shein Miskaven is chayev, basically that you don't learn anything out of the Mishkan according to Rabbi Yehuda, and if you don't learn anything out of the Mishkan, the whole concept of 39 melachas is because you learn from the Mishkan. But since you don't learn out of the Mishkan, I could do 41 melachas if I feel like it. And Rabbi Yehuda's l'shitasai, a whole l'shitasai thing. Anyways, Amrullah, shoyvet hareu b'chlal mesach. It's not true. You don't need, and here's where I pointed out that Rashi explains that these are the same melacha as Mesach. Mesach would mean to roll your strings onto these reels, get it going. Weaving, okay, so it's all included in that, one of the same. Fine, let's start a brand new sugya tomorrow. We'll start from the Mishnah. It looks like we have a pretty short daf tomorrow. Everybody have a wonderful, wonderful, beautiful day. Noam, you ready? Shem Elohim, Mamakim Grosirad Elohim.
שמע בקולי, כן אזנח הקשור יסקות החלוליים.
Elohim, Shema B'Koli,
אדוני מי עמי.
Elohim,
קמך סליחה למען תברא.
קמך סליחו למען
נפשי
תברא.
ולברך אכלתי.
זה לגזור נפשי ולא יכולתי.
נפשי לדנה משמרים לבוקר, שומרים לבוקר.
שומרים לבוקר, שומרים לבוקר.
חל ישראל על אדוני, כי אם אדוני החסד והרבה מוריד.
חל ישראל על אדוני חסד והרבה וידע ישראל, מקלב וצמחים ישראל, זה שבעים. שתו, בגלל זמן קריב. I don't really see people on the screen. I think because I was knocked off.
People can unmute themselves.
So, is there a way for me? Is there a way? Hold on, Yeshua. Hold on, Yeshua. Hold
I
on.
didn't say that Techeiles sponsored the shir at the beginning of the shir.
Yeah.
You should just know it doesn't say anywhere in the entire Masechta Sukkah that it's a chiyuv to write on every single board aleph aleph beis beis like they did in the Mishnah. It doesn't say that anywhere in Masechta Sukkah. And one day I hope.
Rabbi said, I don't know. Is there, Yosef? Is there a way for me to see people on the screen? Because I don't see anybody on the screen. I only see Noam and myself. Because I was knocked off and he started off over again. I don't know why. So very few people I'm able to see.
On the top right, maybe there's a something on the screen. You have to click to show a different view.
Let's see.
Anyone can unmute themselves if they want.
Second offset mode, instead of speaker view, you want gallery.
It looks like
It
looks like last night they said they're opening up the shuls. Brought to 50 people in step one.
What'd you say? Sorry, Mati, what'd you say?
Bodies, the nine little squares, click on them.
Oh, no, but everyone's screen is gone.
Next volume. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm just going to turn off YouTube because I think this is boring for the other one on YouTube.